Good morning, everyone. Find your seats. We're happy you're here. My name is Jan Nolan. I'm a practitioner here at the Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living, where our mission is love in action, transforming lives, transforming communities. It's nice to see so many friends. If you are viewing us on Facebook or YouTube, drop us a comment so we know you're here. And if you'd like more information, go to our website at abqcsl.org. Today we continue our series of courageous transformations with the courage to awaken. Awaken. What does that mean? Could mean so many different things for all of us. I know for me, the Science of Mind teachings have certainly awakened me in my life and how I look at life, how I feel about myself, my connection to spirit, divinity. I've found the truth of who I am through these teachings. Being awake makes things possible. Being awake helps us shine our light. So ponder what awake means to you, and let's take this in prayer. If you close your eyes and go within. I know the Spirit is everywhere present, in all of life, in all of us here, flowing through us with the magnificence, the love, the divinity, the beauty, the perfection. We are all of that. And I know as we gather here today, we have come to take away a tidbit of wisdom from our ministers. Beautiful words. I know that we are here to awaken together. We have chosen to be here. We have shown up because we are on a path of always awakening to the divine within us. I am so grateful for everyone who has helped bring this service together, for all of you for showing up, and for the light that we all are in this community. We are so blessed. So with that, in deep gratitude, together we say, and so it is.
Good morning. My name is Jerry Kripp, and I'm one of the practitioners here, and I am so glad to see you all. Feel the love, right? And I'm going to put my peepers on because I am privileged to read a sacred reading to you this morning, and I want to make sure that I get it right. This is entitled Like Bird. Once you find the courage and willingness to know love, something hits you on your inside, and you will stop preaching about it. You will stop thinking about it. You will stop planning about it, and you will listen. And when you listen, you won't be afraid to sit with yourself in deep silence. You won't be afraid to laugh. And when you listen, you will blossom and your beauty erupts all over, healing every single crack in the world. And when you listen, you are yourself again. And you will find the power to sing like a bird on a tree branch. And this is written by Guthima Roba. Thank you.
Very much. At this time, we'd like to recognize our High Watch folks in the back of the room who are holding space for us. Welcome to all of our guests and those of you online. At this time, we'd like to start our candle lighting ritual. You can come up and grab a candle and place it in the sand with your intention or your prayer for yourself, your joy for someone else. And we welcome you to join us at this time. Thank you. We know the beauty of who we are.
We're going to light a candle for Vanessa Owen this morning.
There are a great many joys and concerns displayed here. I have to share with you one of my greatest joys is that on Friday we celebrated 44 years of marriage. That is one patient woman.
Alexis Lindsay asked that we light a prayer for her brother Bill. We remember our family and friends, our loved ones, our neighbors.
Folks at home, let us know your prayer requests. Type them into the comment feed. We'll light candle for you.
We light a candle for Carmen H. We continue to remember all mothers, expectant mothers, and those hoping to conceive. We light candle in affirmation that whatever it is that you hold on your heart already is. That God is all there is.
We light a candle for Ash Coe this morning.
And we light a candle for Lori Martinez. We remember her in our prayers.
I light a candle for answered prayer because Joyce Stevens is with us.
Woohoo! Yay, Joyce!
So prayer works.
Prayer works.
And so it is. Thank you.
Oh, prayer does work. How good it is. I was sitting in the room adjacent to this room before we got together this morning, and I was just delighted. I could hear the voices. I was watching people jump on Facebook and YouTube, and I thought to myself, wow, this experience of community just continues to expand. So thank you to our beloveds online. Thank you for those of you here in the room. And what an opportunity it is to recognize that the experience of connection and oneness transcends physical space. I was sitting here thinking about this incredible ritual we've created truly as a result. This came out of being from COVID and responding to the pandemic. And I was thinking to myself, this way we've developed to be together through lighting candles online and lighting candles in the room and acknowledging each other's prayers, acknowledging each other's joys. Joyce Stevens hopping in here on Hurricane this morning, and acknowledging this way that we can be in support of one another's transformation. And that the ways that we do that are infinite, which is really what this whole series has been about, is this opportunity to stay so engaged, to stay so committed and connected to the goodness that is God, that every way that life shows up and every way that life does not show up is an opportunity for me and for you to grow our understanding and experience of our oneness with the one. And that is always what is happening. And it is my great fortune, and I hope it's your great fortune, that all of these opportunities, all of these arrows and swords, which I'm going to tell you more about, that have been thrown our way during this pandemic, during this insane moment on the planet, continue to be the way that we can support one another in our awakening to the truth of who we are. What a gift. My gratitude runs deep. So one of the things I wanted to remind you is that as we each consider what it takes to become more conscious of the truth of who we are, we each have this opportunity through the Serenity Prayer to consider what that truth needs from us. And I'm going to remind you the prayer that we've been using to guide ourselves during this courageous transformation has been the original Serenity Prayer written in the 1920s. Spirit, give us courage to change what must be altered, serenity to accept what cannot be helped, and the insight to know the one from the other. We're going to talk about insight today. We're going to talk about how is it that you know when change needs to come or when you need to leave it alone. How do we know that? And tomorrow happens to be Buddha Day. And so the globe, Buddhists around the world and are celebrating, this great teacher, this great guru. And on the night when Buddha was attaining enlightenment, sitting under that tree, he sat under the tree and was attacked by the forces of the Maras. And they threw swords and they threw arrows. And the story goes that Buddha turned all of those swords and arrows into flowers. And I am going to ask you all to do the same. Because Buddha didn't turn arrows and swords into flowers because he was magic. There was a process of transmutation because he was awake. His ability to be entirely present in that moment and to be eyes wide open with what is, what I call the isness, that awakeness, that presence, that spaciousness of mind allowed for those swords and arrows to be the gifts that they truly were. To be received as the infinite givingness of the One, as beautiful, glorious manifestations of the divine. So what if the things in your life that you experience as an arrow or a sword is a gift from God? What if it's the very falling apart in your life, the very crumbling of the things that seem to be so necessary for your living? What if that falling apart is the givingness of God? Sit with it for a minute. Pick an arrow, pick a sword. Pick something crumbling, falling apart, not doing what you wanted to do in your life. And consider the gift. These simple ideas, turning swords and arrows into flowers, these are given to us through all these teachers, through the Buddhas, through the teachers, through all the faith traditions. These parables, these stories, these images are here for us to make real this concept, this idea that there is a power and a presence in the One that is ever accessible. That is not something out here, is not some person in history or in the future, but that ability to be the power and the presence, to make use of this power and presence, is for each one of us, is for you. And so I was really sitting with this idea of transformation, which is, foundational idea here in this community. And I was sitting with, so often we approach this concept of transformation because we think we're broken, and that we think the transformation is about our repair, or about being different than we are so that we can be the goodness that is God, or to change our being, our nature, to be better so that we can be a good human, so that we can be a better spiritual person, or people will like us and love us, or whatever our story is about it. But transformation has nothing to do with changing who we are. Transformation is about the change in our conscious awareness about what is. The isness is already so. You are already whole. Did you know that? You already is. There is nothing about you that needs to change. There's nothing that needs to be repaired, unless you're going to go with me down to the etymology of the word repair, which means to repair. Bring back together the wholeness that you are. And the only way to do that is to remember. because the wholeness that you are is already so, you just forgot. And everything we do in spiritual practice, everything, the reason you and I are in this space together right now is to remember. That's it. That's like the whole deal. And we've spent the last several weeks talking about different ways to do that. But one of the things I was thinking about as I was preparing today, because this idea of awakening is not just one of the ways. It's actually the way. This idea to have the courage to meet the isness of life, eyes wide open, arms and heart wide open, in order to receive the infinite givingness of the One. This awakeness, this ability to be absolutely present to the swords and the arrows, to the fallen apartness, that willingness to show up totally in all the moments, and be willing to be aware of who it is you're being in those moments. This is how we access the spaciousness and the wisdom to have the insight to know what must be changed and what must be left alone. The answer in the Serenity Prayer lies in your ability to be awake and open and ready to receive the isness that is life. And it's in the running, it's in all the things we do to avoid reality that we lose touch with our awakeness, with our access to insight, with our access to absolute intelligence, as the Buddhists refer to God. So these swords, these crumblings, these falling aparts, these arrows that hurt, not once have you heard me say it doesn't hurt, are the divine saying, here, I got you. Here's a way to remember. Here's a way to bring yourself back to what is. And when you are completely awake and aware to what is, you might notice your own wholeness is there too. Pema Chodron says in her book, When Things Fall Apart, when everything falls apart and we feel uncertainty, disappointment, shock, embarrassment, what's left is a mind that is clear, unbiased, and fresh. What's left, when we let it fall, when we let it hurt, when we allow ourselves to be embarrassed, what's left is the very spaciousness, is the very clarity, is the very one mind that we spend a whole bunch of our time and effort trying to find and connect to. We talked about surrender last week, right? And this is about what happens after you surrender. When you stop running, when you stop holding on, when you stop micromanaging all the things, what you are left with is the one. What you are left with is an absolute capacity for being with all that is. What's another name for all that is? Anybody shout it out? Spirit. God. The divine isness. Yes. Think about it for a minute, because you look like I'm lying to you right now. And I'm wondering if my online beloveds think I'm lying to you too. I want you to think about like a really heinous moment in your life where you were brought to your knees. Death of a loved one, loss of a job or a home, or, just something that just broke you down. Think about that moment and what was happening in your own mind, in your own being. You had nothing, right? There was just like a nothingness. Those moments of complete breakdown is when I, and I'm pretty sure I'm not alone in this, have the experience of like, I got nothing. That's a really good place to be. People spend their entire lifetimes meditating and doing the things and fasting to get to no thing. That nothingness, that place where it's like, I got nothing left, I got nothing to figure out, I have no more ideas, I don't know what to do. Fantastic! This is the flower and the sword and the arrow. It is in that nothingness that suddenly, if we choose to pay attention, we have complete and total access to the one mind, to the no thing that has all the power in the entire universe and beyond to be with what is. There is incredible gifting in those moments that feel like it has all fallen apart. And it requires courage to stay awake to it. It requires courage to say, okay, I don't have to run from this very moment. I can let this very moment grow my awareness of what is so. That little pocket of nothingness that sometimes we get thrown into, we can choose to grow that pocket. We can choose to rest in that place and know all is well. There is something else going on here. And I can let that transform my consciousness. I can let that very moment stretch me beyond what I thought I was into more of what I am. I can't think of anything better. I can't think of a bouquet of flowers that could beat that. So what I want to do today is break it down with the actual 4 maras from the Buddhist tradition, which is an evolution of the 5 maras from the Hindu tradition, but we're going to talk about the 4 from the Buddhists. So the first mara is Devaputra Mara. And Mara, let me just say, Mara is translated in a bunch of ways, but the way that I understand it is Mara is the thing that will kill your evolution. Sometimes Mara is translated as murder. But it is the murder, it is the obstruction, it is the obstacle of your awakening, of your transformation. And these 4 maras, and you'll see yourself in all of them, because I do, are the most common ways that we keep ourselves small. So, Devaputramara, seeking pleasure and avoiding pain. Anybody know about that? Yeah. I was like, that's why they made that one first. And the way Pema Chodron says, to turn this Devaputa arrow into a flower is to open our hearts and look at how we try to escape. And here is one of the things that I believe is critical to transformation, to expanding our awareness and our experience to the truth of who we actually are. Is you cannot do that if you've got a story in your head that what you do or how you react or how you run makes you bad. If part of this transmutation of swords into flowers means that awakeness, that awareness has to include the ways you run. And to meet the awareness of the ways that you run and avoid pain, to meet that reality, that isness, eyes wide open, arms wide open, hearts wide open. To meet yourself gently and compassionately, rather than like, oh, I'm so terrible, I always avoid pain, I suck. I've counted the number of times people have said to me just in the last week that they suck. Oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot, I suck. Yo, there's no sucking in God. There's no sucking. God doesn't make sucky. The Mara can only kill us, kill our understanding of the truth of who we are, when we busy ourselves thinking we have gone wrong in our own beings. It's the definition of shame. That there is something inherently wrong with us. But we're sitting here today talking about God and the isness of God. Those two things can't happen together. You can't be the isness of God and think you are broken. Thinking you're sucking. So the ways that you avoid pain is part of your wholeness. And when you allow yourself to just gently meet that, like, ooh, I do that. I do like some chocolate when things are hard. I would really rather not feel anxiety. Rather not. I might even put some pretty big amounts of effort into not feeling it. And in that awareness of what I do when it's hard, I get to meet myself there. I get to meet myself there, and that literally opens up the spaciousness of accepting what is and going, all right. So you'd rather eat chocolate than feel anxiety. Okay, that makes sense. Anybody else? And in that allowing, in that meeting myself with Maitri, which we talked about in this series, unconditional friendliness, I can then just automatically, like magic, have the power to just sit with it. Like, yep, super anxious. Want to eat chocolate. Maybe I don't have to do anything about that. Just like that, a sword becomes a flower. So you can sit with Sit with the awareness and the noticing of what it is you do to avoid pain. And there's not a one of us in here that doesn't have an avoid pain whole toolbox. Some of us meditate to avoid pain. Yes, we do. And I would offer that the more courage you gather up to awaken to your wholeness, the more you will meet the power and the presence of the one that is in you that gives you the capacity to feel pain and not need to do anything about it. Because pain is. Suffering is when you start throwing the arrows. The first arrow, life is going to be life. Arrows happen, swords happen, things fall apart. It's a part of the isness. But then when you go get the arrow out and be like, I hate this arrow, I hate this arrow, this sword sucks. I suck. The second arrow, that's you. That's suffering. But instead of beating yourself up for the ways that you avoid pain, or beating yourself up for feeling pain, or being hurt by a whatever, just being with it, and trusting that you have everything you need in your being to feel it and let it go. Because God. The second Mara we're going to talk about is the Skanda Mara. We hang on and recreate who we think we are when the rug is pulled out from under us. I know, think about this for a minute. Have any of you ever played the Statues tag game? Statues, anybody? So Statues is that game when the statue maker, whoever's it, right, catches you, spins you around, and however you land is your statue. And then you gotta stay there till somebody unstatues you. Think of life as being it. And life done spun you around, threw you down, and I'm not giving this up. Life threw me down 47 years ago, and I'm going to spend decades holding on to whatever that story is, holding on to what I believe that means about me, holding on to my pain and my wounds and my trauma. And then every time that pain gets triggered, that wound gets triggered again, and it will, because life, we get back in that statue, this is what God said I am. This is what life says I am. This is what I know how to do. Let me get back to it because it's really comfortable. I've gotten really good at holding this one. I know how to do this. I know how to do it so well. I know how to be that version of myself so well. I have convinced myself it is who I am. And now I'm doubling down on recreating it every time life says, here, let me unfreeze you. Let me knock you out of that role you've been playing. Do something else. And we're like, nope, doing it. I'm staying in it. That is the Skanda Mara that I think a lot of us get tripped up in. I hear people say a lot, which always makes me giggle, I'm not really a animal person. I'm not really a people person. I'm not this, I'm not that. How do you know? How do you know? time you tried? Oh, my body type doesn't really look good in that cut. That's not my color. Really? Who said? And we will throw resources. We will throw money, we will throw time, all kinds of effort to maintain the I'm this kind of person. And life is literally breaking stuff for you. God is like, let me crumble that for you so you can do something else. Let me get that out of your way. Try this other thing. And we're like, no thank you. No thank you, blessings. I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna just do this. I'm gonna just be this one way I know how to be. Pema Chodron says, even though it feels like an arrow or a sword, if we use it as an opportunity to become aware of how we try to recreate ourselves over and over again, it turns into a flower. So again, meeting that impulse, meeting those habits, those ways of being that feel entrenched and stagnant, meeting them with unconditional friendliness. Like what in my understanding of myself am I wildly attached to? What do I hold on to super tight in my understanding of myself? What sends me on a tirade when I think I'm being threatened, when my identity is being threatened? That's a good one. Think about it. What will piss you off if you think somebody's trying to mess with your idea of yourself? Most of the relationships we are in, our romantic relationships, our close friendships, are with people who we like how we feel, we like who we are when we're with them. Hang with me now. This is one of the ways we exercise confirmation bias. I like hanging out with people who do not disturb my peace, right? Sometimes we call it like-minded people. I like hanging out with people who reflect back to me the version of me that I want them to reflect. Don't be reflecting the asshole part of me. I'm not trying to hang out with you if you're doing that. And yet life does this thing. If we so choose to accept the divine givenness of the one, that there are mirrors everywhere, from all the angles, even the ones we don't like, saying, here's your wholeness, and it's glorious. It's worthy of celebration. Even your bad side. And part of that transformation, that expansion, that growing awareness and consciousness means becoming more and more aware of all that you are. And meeting it with unconditional friendliness. And wouldn't you guess that the more you do that for yourself, all of a sudden you're able to be that for others? The more you are able to be with all that you are and all of your silly ways, that you might have a little bit more unconditional friendliness for other people's, even the ones who are not like-minded. Klesha Mara. When big emotions arise, we panic. We fan the flames by putting our stories about it on repeat. Anybody? Do I even need to say more? we get really, really engaged in our emotions. And it's funny because most of us spend an enormous amount of effort not having them and trying to run from them. But it's still giving them a giant place in our lives, right? Even in the avoidance of the emotion. Or the indulgence. Anybody indulgers? Like get all up in your feelings and then just like hang out and bathe in them. And yet, they're the same thing as like when you stub your toe. It hurts for a minute, and then it goes away. Pain is pain. Our brains deal with emotional pain and physical pain the exact same way. They are not different. So I want everybody to pinch themselves for a minute. Just pinch yourself. At home, pinch yourself. I know I can't see you, but pinch yourself anyways. Did it hurt for just a second? Is it still hurting? Anybody want to keep pinching yourself so you can just be in the hurting of the pinch? It's gone now. It's over. It was like less than 5 seconds. Did you need to like run out the door to avoid the pinch? This is pain. Feelings are just this incredible gift from the divine to help us experience the richness of aliveness. And there's all these beautiful flavors and colors and nuances of feeling and emotion. Some of them are lovely, some of them are terrible, and they're all the great givingness of the one. And yet, why would we give our entire power over to them? Live our lives as if having them and not having them is the thing. And yet, they're just this part of life. Beautiful, lovely part of life, but like color, like sound, they're just a part of life. They're not the whole story, but we act like they are. I don't ever want to feel that again. Never getting in a relationship ever again. Heartbreak sucks. I heard someone say recently that disappointment was so gut-wrenching, they never wanted to do anything that might bring disappointment again. I thought, you might as well just call it. Just call it. Aliveness without disappointment, I don't know how that happens. But they're just feelings. And I feel like this particular Mara is the one where we really think we're going to die. That this feeling is truly going to take us out. Has anyone died of a feeling before? Anybody? You got a family member who just keeled over from disappointment? Just dropped dead. Part of why I think we run so hard and get all complicated about it is because we don't believe we have the power or the capacity to meet it. But I know God. And I know God is right where you are. Which means that cannot be true. The power and the presence of the one is in you, which means the power to meet whatever life is doing is in you. The capacity to be with yourself and your feelings is right where you are. Always has been. It's an untrue story we tell. That we can't handle the pain, that we can't handle how uncomfortable some feelings are. It's an untrue story, because God. Pema Chodron goes on to say, if we can look and see the wildness of emotion, we can not only begin to befriend and soften towards ourselves, but we can begin to befriend and soften towards all human beings. I want you to think about a moment where you did let yourself just sit in it and let it go. Where you let an emotion just happen and move through you. And by that very act, which we have the opportunity to do like 50, 100 times a day, right? That very act helps us to build that unconditional friendliness towards ourselves. Like, oh, I just boo-hooed at a Kodak commercial. It's over now. Oh, wow. I now have a little bit more friendliness towards that softness in me, which means maybe I'll be less judgy of that softness in others. Or I just completely lost my stuff and screamed like a banshee at the kids. And it's over now. But now, as I meet that with compassion in myself, maybe that screaming banshee person I thought was the devil, maybe I can meet them with a little unconditional friendliness. You see how this works? The macro, the micro. The final Mara, the Yama Mara, often translated as the fear of death. Pema Chodron offers, it's really the fear of life. From an awakened perspective, trying to tie up all the loose ends and finally getting it all together is death. Anybody like on a mission to get it together? Yeah, I know you. I know you. When did that become endgame? The goal? Making sure everything's in order and tied up and proper and in its right place and no chaos and everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. Who said that was like winning life? But that desire to have everything in its proper place, have life do what it's supposed to do in the right order, that desire is coming from a place of false sense of security and a false sense of safety. Like somehow death is gonna not come. Somehow life is gonna not be life, which is messy and glorious and emotional and dirty and crumbly and changey. This Mara, I love this because one of the things that this Mara points to is, again, this fear that comes, I think, depending on our life experience in a lot of different flavors. But this fear that I am not going to be able to do life. I'm not strong enough to meet life. I don't have the smarts to figure out these problems and find solutions. Somehow I am not enough to be alive. So I think it's a version of dying. This idea that we'll somehow have safety and security if things just went a certain way. When we do that, we actually diminish our capacity for aliveness. And this life thing, this aliveness thing, is the ultimate givingness of the divine. So why would we squander and squash it and make it small and tidy? Death is coming soon enough. None of us getting out of here alive. And this aliveness, this is it. This is the big jackpot. This is the end of the rainbow. This is The law. Stop trying to tidy it up. It's supposed to be messy. Don't get tripped up in this Mara, this illusion that you're doing it wrong because it's messy. That something is wrong in your life because things have fallen apart and crumbled and broken and been ugly. What happens when we meet the ugly with unconditional friendliness? One of the practices I've been doing lately is being with the isness, being with what is, without judgment. I know. It's a big learning curve. It's going to be a lifelong practice. But without judgment, so that I'm able to be more open to receiving the givingness that the divine is always giving, that I miss often, and I would posit you miss often, because you're busy judging it as this or that. Preferred, not preferred, like it, don't like it. Ugly, beautiful. My favorite, not my favorite. Hearting it, not hearting it. And all the business of judging it, to order things, right? To make things feel more tidy and sensible. I have missed the enormous amount of gifts that are available in every moment. Because I'm like busy trying to put them in order. And as I find myself sitting in this let me just be with what is, let me be with what is without judging it. And let me try not to name it. I have found this filling up in my spirit that I couldn't even point to what is actually filling me up. Couldn't even tell you. It's just the isness. It's just the isness. It's almost overwhelming how good aliveness is. If you allow it to be. And then to be conscious and aware of what all this totality is. And then make the conscious choice, the intention to be transformed by it. Be with it, be with it, be with it, be with it. Stop trying to put it in little cute boxes. Be with it, be with it, be with it, and allow it to be the thing that actually grows your experience of wholeness. I find that I notice so much more. I find that there's little eye twinkles and crinks and mouths and things growing out of asphalt cracks and just all kinds of things that are giving themselves to me and moment by moment by moment that I actually get to experience and receive because I'm not busying myself with trying to make it right. And then doing all the like, why is that going there? Why is there smiling? The aliveness is endgame. And these four simple things, they kind of cover the whole thing, right? If you allow yourself to meet with unconditional friendliness these different circumstances by, I'm going to recommend pick one, start with one. But these four ways that we tend to get in our own way, these four swords that if we're committed to keeping life tidy, will stay swords. These four things, if we choose to turn them to flowers, if we choose to transmute these 4 ways of being into flowers, this is the transformation we're all looking for. This is the wholeness we all long for. This is the peace of being exactly as I am, being exactly as you are, that we're all really here for. When we talk about knowing God, what we really want to know is that God is with me. God's got me. I have access to this God thing, to this thing that is beyond my understanding, to this power, to this presence, to this love, to this harmony, to this joy. And most of the time our only job is to get out of the way. And to get these misunderstandings out of the way. So we can have what we want. Which is the aliveness of the one that has chosen to live its life as you, as me, as all the not like-minded people too. So pick one. Maybe you're going to choose to turn one of the arrows into a flower by opening your heart and looking at how you are trying to escape something difficult. And only you know what arrows are poking you right now. Maybe this kind of arrow you'll turn into a flower by letting go of who you think you're supposed to be in some situation in your life. Maybe you'll turn the pleasure arrow into a flower by compassionately allowing your emotions to rise and pass. And maybe you'll turn the Yalamara into an arrow, from an arrow into a flower by letting go of the false idea you are holding of perfection and welcoming perfect wholeness. I'm going to put these up on the website this week because you may need to refer back. Just saying. And I'm going to invite you to close once again with the original Serenity prayer. And this time doing so with the awareness that the insight to know the difference between what must change and what must remain is not magic. The prayer gets answered because you choose to pray the prayer into awakeness. You allow these words to bring you awake to what is. You down? Shall we pray ourselves awake? Let's have Jordana put it on the screen for us. Spirit, give us courage to change what must be altered, serenity to accept what cannot be helped, and the insight to know the one from the other. It is so. Thank you all.
Hello. I'm practitioner Clarissa Crow, for anyone who does not know me. Thank you so much, Reverend Amani. And we're going to play a little song for you, one of my favorite songs. When we are looking for the good in everything and in everyone, we are keeping ourselves awake. Awake to the beauty and to the love that is everywhere, always there. So I love this song. It's just a great philosophy for life. So we were going to play that for you now. Look for the good in everything. And please sing along if you know it. I literally have no voice right now. I'm still recovering gunk, so help me if you know it. It always seems impossible until it's done. Look for the good in everyone. in everything. Look for the people who will set your soul free. It always seems impossible until it's done. Look for the good in everyone. People done gone crazy. People done gone mad. People done forgot the superpowers we all have. We were born to love, not hate. We can decide our fate. Look for the good in everyone and celebrate on our mistakes. If there's a silver lining, you still have to find it, find it, find it. Look for the good in everything.
Look for the people who will set your soul free.
It always seems impossible until it's done.
Look for the good in everyone.
Everyone needs sunshine. Everyone needs rain. Everyone is carrying around some kind of pain. I see who you are. You're just like me. I see you're searching for a purpose, guided by a dream. I see who you are. I'm just like you. Yeah, I get lost sometimes and I forget what I came here to do. But I keep on trying.
Keep on trying.
When it gets frightening, look for the good in everything.
Look for the people who will set your soul free.
It always seems impossible until it's done.
Look for the good in everyone.
Look for the good.
Look for the good in everyone.
Everyone is nature. Everyone is God. Everyone is love and light and vibration. Look for the good. Look for the good. Everyone gets mad sometimes, and maybe they should. Look for the good. Look for the good.
Look for the good.
Yeah, look out for all the heroes in your neighborhood. Look for the good.
Look for the good.
Look for the good.
Look for the good.
Life sure be sweeter if everybody would. Look for the good in everything.
Look for the people who will set your soul free. It always seems impossible until it's done. Look for the good in everyone. Look for the good in everything. Look for the people who will set your soul free. Always seems impossible until it's done. Look for the good. Look for the good. Look for the good in everyone.
Yay, thank you, my friends. Love you guys.
I would love to actually bring Jane Midgley up, and before Jane tells you more, can we get a mic for Jane? One of our people with mics. All right. The One New Mexico Gospel Choir is performing this afternoon, which is one of the things Jane's going to tell you about. But what I wanted to tell you was we have had the great pleasure of being able to host the band to rehearse here. And this is, again, one of the ways in community partnership that your money supports the greater good. So I am going to ask you to continue throwing your dollars at the greater good. You can do so by text to give, click to give, and pick to give. And the easiest thing to do is just go to the website abqcsl.org and hit the donate button. Thank you so much. Jane, come on up and tell us about the concert.
All right, before I do that, I just wanted to say that my heart is heavy today because of what happened in Buffalo yesterday. So an 18-year-old white supremacist targeted people of color in Buffalo. And as a result, 10 people are dead and 3 people are in the hospital. So I just want us to take a moment right now and just send love to the people in Buffalo. Just hold them in your heart right this minute. Our country's going through some stuff. And it's really hard, and I have white folks ask me all the time, what can I do? It's too big, I'm just one person. It's too overwhelming. Well, guess what? This afternoon, there's something you can do. Because some incredible African American leaders in our community are gifting us with an event that is designed to promote love, oneness, and inclusion of all faiths, all people, all races. And so these are, I don't know, a lot of you know Kathy McGill, so we're talking about Kathy McGill, one of these amazing leaders. Dr. Stevie Springer, who's the music director and who's leading the choir. So it's been my great honor to sing in this choir, but I'm just inviting you all to come out because, first of all, this music is life-giving. That's why they wanted to bring this. And it's an opportunity for you to hold hands across these divides because the healing is going to come through us, through each of us. There's nothing out here, and it's going to happen in our communities. So it's 3 p.m. at the beautiful Unitarian Universalist Church at Comanche and Carlisle. And it's free. That's what I mean about the gifting part. And it's going to be a great time, really amazing. So come on out if you possibly can.
Hello. So if you're new to our community, please go to abqcsl.org and join our Spirit Calling. If you would like to have connection throughout the week, there is a wonderful 2-minute call that will grace your phone every single morning with the theme, within the theme of what we're working on our Sundays. Also, I would like to invite you to call a practitioner, to go online and go to our abqcsl.org and go to About Us and go to practitioners. And if there's some place in your life where you're not feeling whole, perfect, and complete, please call a practitioner for prayer, whether you're online or whether you're in person. And so at this moment, I invite you to bring your attention to your heart space. That place where God resides, that place where love is. Bring your heart and your mind to the same place as we create this courage to awaken. For knowing that God is love, God is peace, God is joy, God is the isness within each one of us. That there is no separation. That each one of us comes in our whole, authentic, beautiful selves. We present and we are accepted. We know where the isness is, and that's where we allow. We allow God to permeate in, through, around, and as each one of us in the way that our heart desires. Knowing that as we continue to open our hearts and our minds to the knowing of who we truly are, my heart is filled to overflowing in deep gratitude in the knowing that it is already done, it is complete, and so it is. Amen. Please join me in our closing affirmation. Our hearts and minds are awakened with the courage to live our best lives. And so it is, and I look forward to seeing you next Sunday.